All right, I got all my gear set up and I'm planning to be here all day. So how am I gonna stay comfortable?
Yeah, so there's lots of little things you could do in the saddle to make it more comfortable, and you're gonna have to change up your position throughout the day just to keep those hot spots from developing. So the biggest thing is tether height. Now Aaron's got his tether set about nose height when he's standing up, maybe a hair lower. So there's no wrong way to do this, and it's gonna change depending on the tree and how long you're wanting to sit and whatnot. But I like to run a pretty low tether, like down around my chin. So what that does is it lessens this angle right here. So the higher you've got that tether, it's gonna create more of an angle, and that's gonna pull up on the saddle. So it's something that you need to play around with a little bit and kind of find what works for you. But I would suggest starting off right about that nose height, chin to nose height when you're standing on your platform, and that's a really good kind of baseline setup for your tether. So you can play with your tether height, and then from there you can get into your bridge. Now Aaron's got his bridge tightened up pretty far. He's got a lot of tag end hanging off right here.
And it's pulling in
and
like
it's
this.
pulling in. So when you've got a real tight bridge like that, it's gonna bring the saddle, the body of the saddle will wrap around you a little bit farther. So if you're a bigger guy, you've got a wider hips, you can loosen this a little bit. You kind of have to stand up on it, and there you go. You can loosen it just like that. And then from there, you're probably gonna have to adjust your Prusik up to account for letting that out. And what that does is by lengthening that, it's gonna open up that saddle body a little bit and take some of that pressure off your hips. So from your tether to your bridge, you've got the saddle body that you can move up or down on your body, and there you'll kind of find a spot where it likes to sit on you. So you kind of have to play around with that a little bit. But you can adjust that throughout the day, up or down a tad, just to kind of change those hot spots up a little bit. And then from there, you've got your platform. So you can see Aaron's got his foot up on this stomp pad on the platform, so he can kind of change up the pressure on his legs while he's standing. So then from there, we've got the cushion that's on the tree. So this is just simply a replacement for knee pads. It's just another option. You can use knee pads as well. So by sitting like that and putting your knees in the tree, it's taking a lot of the pressure off of your feet. So by alternating standing and sitting, you can kind of change up those pressure points. But another major tip for me, and what really allows me to sit all day, is the recliner strap. So go ahead and pull it out, Aaron. So this little guy right here weighs absolutely nothing, and it makes a big difference in comfort. So it's basically just a continuous piece of webbing with 2 adjustment buckles on it, and it's going to clip in right to where your bridge clips in.
Right into your carabiner, just like that.
Yep, make sure it's locked, and then you can throw that over your shoulder.
Just like that. Tighten her up.
And this simply just gives you some extra support wherever you need it. So you can run it all the way up here. You can run it down to the very top of the saddle.
And then change your tension here.
Change it up a little bit. And this will essentially make the saddle feel a little bit taller just by giving you that extra lower back support. But my favorite thing, and this is the biggest trick for me being able to sit all day, is to loosen this thing up, drop it below the saddle. Now Aaron, sit down in the saddle with your knees into the tree. Put that recliner on the back of his thighs right here, and then really tighten that thing up.
Oh yeah.
So when you do that, this thing is like sitting in the most comfortable seat you could ever imagine, because it's taken, what it's doing is holding your legs together into this pad, so you can completely relax your legs, and all of that pressure is off of your feet. So that's just a really super comfortable position. And I use that little trick right there a lot.
All right, one question we get is this thing gonna impede your draw? Like when it's up in the back position here, I'll just get back up there. If this thing is like in this position right here.
Yep, so if you've got a short ATA bow, it actually will not hit this strap. I've shot several deer with that thing tightened all the way up. But what I would suggest for most people is as soon as you see a deer and you feel like you might get a shot, I reach up there, pop this, and then just let that kind of fall down to the top of the saddle. So another thing to touch on here with tether placement that we kind of skipped over earlier is if you've got a tree that's leaning one way or the other, you can manipulate this knot one side to the other so it keeps your center of gravity, dead center on that platform basically, so you're not wanting to swing one way.
All right, you can see here on the side of the tree, we're dealing with this leaning tree here. I'm pulling through that knot. Now, if this was opposite way, tree leaning the other direction, I could not move it over here to this side because I'm not pulling through the knot anymore.
Yep.
You can see that I'm starting to get slack here in the tether. So what we would need to do in the event that that was the scenario is hook our lineman's belt back up. Make sure to do that first.
Yep.
Then take your tether off, invert the tether, flip it around so that you're pulling through this knot on the other side.
Yep.
Just like this. This is what it needs to look like if you go on the side of the tree and you're in a leaning tree.
100%. All right, so talking in comfort, we're gonna talk real quick about the platform and the level adjustment. So this is something that you would need to make while you're on your stick and you set your platform. But if you loosen this to the point where you've got just a little bit of a downward angle, just a little bit out of level, that tends to be the most comfortable. But you could change that up, just kind of depends on the tree setup and your needs. But if you adjust your platform down a little bit, and then you can kind of switch up your foot placement throughout the hunt, and it's going to make it more comfortable. So Aaron can put his foot up on this top here. He can alternate feet, kind of take the pressure off of each leg. And then by standing on the edge or the flat part of the platform, you can kind of change up and keep your feet comfortable. All right, guys, so that's just a few tips right there to keep you comfortable on an all-day sit.